Hello, and welcome to another episode of the We're Just Children's podcast. I'm Maya, and I'm here with Jenna. Today, Shanza isn't here, but we're going to be talking about poverty.
All right. So, firstly, I feel like it's clear to just start off by the facts. So, what population is most affected by poverty? So, the poverty rankings are basically the adults not working. There's 30%. The poverty percentage for the adults not working is 31%. Adults without a high school diploma is 25%. Adults with a disability is 24%. Single moms 23%. Foreign born non citizens is 19%. Black Americans 17%. Hispanic Americans 17%, and children 15%. These are the each percentages of each kind of people who are affected by poverty in a really bad way. For example, are being homeless or just dealing with money problems in general.
So, poverty is something that affects a lot of people, as I've mentioned, but to what extent is it called poverty? Yeah, some people could be struggling with money, but when does it actually count as poverty? So, there's this thing called the poverty line. The poverty line is the minimum amount of money a person needs to fill the basic necessities of life, like shelter and food. When families are below the poverty line, they qualify for help from the government. Now, the reason that this exists is so that when it's clear that a family is or a person is struggling, that the government can help them just to help in general because it's obviously something that is hard to get over. So, in Pakistan, where we are, the poverty line 3,030 rupees. When converted into dollars, this results in being 10.90 US dollars. So that is the universal currency conversion.
All right, so there are also different types of poverty. So basically, there is situational poverty, generational poverty, absolute poverty, relative poverty, urban poverty, and rural poverty. So poverty is a very broad topic. There's a lot of topics related to the whole topic. So I feel like it's important to discuss all of them as obviously, as I already discussed, there are many types of people and the different percentage of those people who are dealing with it, and obviously it's like a hard a thing on their life. As many of us even listening to the podcast are alhamdulillah very blessed, and I feel like it's important to be aware of what we have and what other people sometimes don't, so it's like important to be aware of that.
According to the 2020 release, 1.1 billion out of 6.1 billion, just over 18%, live in acute multidimensional poverty across 110 countries.
Okay, so here are a few facts about poverty. So basically, in poverty, you are displaced, you often go hungry or receive poor nutrition, you lack basic necessities like clean water, electricity, and sanitation. You miss out on good education. Your living situation puts you at a high risk for diseases. You don't have access to doctors, hospitals, or needed medicines. So all of this is a big issue, and I feel like it's aware as we should be aware of what those dealing with this issue really do go through, um, as obviously their life is not easy. Every day they're basically like their main question is okay, so like where am I gonna sleep, what am I gonna eat, should I go, I'm sick, maybe I should go to the doctor, how am I gonna afford the doctor, and everything. Every day their life is super hard, and I feel like we should really take a moment of silence. I think we should really give us a sense of realization on what people have to go through.
Poverty is a significant socioeconomic condition characterized by a lack of resources necessary for basic living standards. It affects millions of individuals and families worldwide, depriving them of access to fundamental necessities such as adequate food, clean water, shelter, healthcare, and education. Poverty manifests in various forms, including absolute poverty, where individuals struggle to meet the most basic needs for survival, and relative poverty, which occurs in comparison to the standards of living within a particular society.
Okay, so basically, inequalities in societies are associated with a significant increased risk of ill health. Poverty is a key player. People in poverty can face constant high levels of stress, for example, due to struggling to make ends meet, overcrowded or unsafe housing, fear of crime, and comparatively poor physical health. All of these factors do include in your life when you are dealing with when you're dealing with being underprivileged or poor.
Despite advancements in technology and economic growth in many parts of the world, poverty remains a persistent and pervasive problem, with millions of people living below the poverty line. Factors contributing to poverty include structural inequalities, such as unequal distribution of wealth and resources, lack of access to education and employment opportunities, discrimination based on gender, ethnicity, or socioeconomic status, and systematic barriers that perpetuate cycles of poverty across generations.
Poverty in childhood and among adults can cause poor mental health through social stress, stigma, and trauma. Especially mental health problems can lead to uh, through loss of employment or underemployment or fragmentation of social relationships, as many people do lose their loved ones due to, for example, health issues and not being able to treat them because of the underprivileged lifestyle.
Poverty has profound implications for individuals and communities, impacting physical and mental health, educational attainment, and social mobility and overall quality of life. It perpetuates a cycle of deprivation and marginalization, making it difficult for individuals to break free from poverty traps and upward socioeconomic mobility. Addressing poverty requires a comprehensive and multifaceted approaches, including social welfare programs, economic policies aimed at reducing income inequality, investment in education, healthcare infrastructure, and initiatives to empower marginalized communities. By addressing the root causes of poverty and fostering inclusive and equitable development, societies can work towards creating a more just and prosperous future for all.
Okay, so 183,000 people die per year just due to poverty. So when you bring up the topic of death, it is really a significant topic, which really gives you the realization of how serious this topic of poverty is, as many people just first off live a horrible life and then they just end up losing their life or end up losing their social relationships with their loved ones just because of poverty and not being able to live up to the standards of having a normal of having normal necessities, resources, and the basic needs to live a normal life and survive and to get enough nutrition and a proper lifestyle.
Now, in our previous episode, we discussed mental health. So, how does poverty relate to mental health? The effects of poverty on mental health are profound and pervasive, impacting individuals in myriad ways. Living in poverty often means facing constant stressors such as financial instability, inadequate housing, and limited access to healthcare, all of which can contribute to heightened levels of anxiety, depression, and other mental health disorders. Moreover, the stigma and social isolation associated with poverty can exacerbate feelings of shame and worthlessness, further compounding mental health issues. The lack of resources and support systems to cope with those stresses can lead to a vicious cycle of poor mental health outcomes, making it crucial to address both the socioeconomic factors and the mental health needs of an individuals living in poverty. So basically, being in poverty can deeply affect someone's mental health because it's genuinely a struggle and it feels like a hole that you can't get out of, and it's just a horrible experience. Therefore, poverty is a very horrible thing for your mental health.
Okay, so basically, the number one cause of poverty is inequalities in income distribution and access to productive resources. So basically, this could even relate to gender inequality, and this could even relate to the basic biases or social biases of human rights when it comes to poverty, as we do, as many people face getting less income than others, which causes poverty, obviously.
Okay, so as we mentioned before, we're children who are obviously doing this podcast, and we're so fortunate to have our school help us when it comes to doing a community project and creating a podcast. So, what about children growing up in poverty? Children growing in poverty face a multitude of challenges that can have long lasting effects on their development and well being. From inadequate nutrition and healthcare to limited access to quality education and safe living environments, the impact of poverty on children is profound. It can hinder their cognitive and social emotional development, limit their academic achievement, and increase their risk of experiencing chronic stress and mental health issues. Moreover, the cycle of poverty can perpetuate across generations as children born into impoverished families often face systematic barriers that hinder their ability to escape poverty later in life. For example, if a child grows up in an environment with poverty and they're unable to access quality education, it would be hard for them to land job opportunities in the future, landing them in a spiral down to poverty as well. Addressing child poverty requires comprehensive interventions that prioritize access to essential resources that support services, as well as policies aimed at addressing the structural inequalities that perpetuate the cycle of poverty. By investing in the well being of children and providing them with the opportunities they need to thrive, we can break the cycle of poverty and create a brighter future for generations to come. So now we will be doing a comparison between children living in poverty and children who are living in a middle class family. So basically, this is going to be basically conducted through and measured in Pakistan. So that is basically just to explain.
Children living in poverty in Pakistan face significant challenges that can profoundly impact their lives compared to their peers that from more affluent backgrounds. For starters, access to basic necessities such as nutritious food, clean water, and healthcare is often limited for children in poverty. This lack of access can lead to malnutrition, illness, and stunt growth, affecting their physical health and development. Obviously, this fact is obvious.
Furthermore, children in poverty often struggle to access quality education due to financial constraints. Many are unable to attend school regularly or drop out altogether to support themselves or their families financially. Without proper education, these children are at a disadvantage when it comes to securing stable employment and opportunities in the future, therefore perpetuating the cycle of poverty, which we talked about earlier.
Okay, so living conditions for children in poverty can also be precarcerous, with many residing in overcrowded and unsanitary environments. This increases their, their chances in diseases and exposes them to various safety risks. Additionally, the stressors associated with poverty, such as financial instability and discord, can also have effects on children's mental health and emotional well-being.
In contrast, children from more privileged backgrounds in Pakistan typically have access to better healthcare, education, and living conditions. They benefit from a supportive environment that nurtures their physical, mental, and emotional development, providing them with greater opportunities to thrive and succeed in lives. Addressing the disparities between children in poverty and their more affluent counterparts in Pakistan requires a comprehensive efforts aimed at providing equitable access to essential resources in Pakistan and support services.
By investing in initiatives that alleviate poverty, improve access to education and healthcare, and create supportive environments for children, we can work towards ensuring that all children in Pakistan have the opportunity to reach their full potential, regardless of their basically financial status.
We will now be giving 10 small facts about poverty just to kind of clear up and evaluate everything that has been said so far in a short and comprehensive way.
Okay, so basically, poverty is a widespread issue affecting millions of people worldwide. It transcends geographical boundaries, impacting individuals and communities in both developed and developing countries.
Poverty is not solely about lack of income, it encompasses various dimensions such as lack to access basic education, basic food necessities, basic water necessities, shelter, healthcare, and more.
Okay, so poverty is often interconnected with other social issues like inequality, discrimination, lack of employment opportunities, and inadequate social safety nets. These factors can reinforce each other and basically increasing the cycle of poverty.
Poverty has an impact on health outcomes. So, people living in poverty are more likely to experience malnutrition, infectious disease, and limited access to healthcare services, leading to higher rates of morbidity and mortality. Just because, genuinely, them being in poverty is very hard nowadays to even afford medical bills. So, not being able to even have visits to the hospital leads to more diseases, and it's very heartbreaking.
Poverty often hinders access to education and perpetuating a cycle of disadvantage. Children from impoverished backgrounds are less likely to attend school regularly, receive quality education, or complete their education, limiting their future prospects. Meaning, it obviously limits their future opportunities. So basically, if they're stuck in poverty when they're young, they're going to feel like they're stuck in it for the rest of their life.
Poverty can create a vicious cycle that spans generations. Children born into poverty are more likely to experience adverse outcomes later in life, perpetuating the cycle of poverty within families and communities.
Poverty basically disproportionately affects women and girls. They often face greater barriers to education, employment, and healthcare, exacerbating gender inequalities and perpetuating cycles of poverty.
While poverty exists in both rural and urban areas, its manifestations differ. So, rural poverty is often characterized by agricultural livelihoods, limited infrastructure, and lack of basic access to services. Urban poverty may involve informal employment, overcrowding living conditions, and inadequate social support systems.
Okay, so poverty and environmental degradation are closely intertwined. People living in poverty are disproportionately affected by environmental hazards such as pollution, deforestation, climate change, and basically increasing their vulnerability.
And finally, our fact to wrap the main episode up, effective poverty alleviation requires comprehensive socioeconomic policies that address root causes and promote inclusive development. This may include measures such as social protection programs, investment in education and healthcare, job creation initiatives, and equitable distribution of resources.
Now, let's discuss what we can do to help poverty. Okay, so water, sanitation, and hygiene programs are integral to poverty alleviation efforts. By providing access to clean water, sanitation facilities, and promoting good hygiene practices, WASH initiatives improve health outcomes, enhance educational opportunities, and create economic prospects. These programs empower communities, particularly women and girls, by reducing the burden of water collection, promoting gender equality, and fostering resilience to environmental changes. Ultimately, WASH interventions contribute to the breaking the cycle of poverty and promoting sustainable development.
So, do donations help? Donations are crucial for supporting WASH programs, providing communities with clean water, sanitation facilities, and hygiene education. Your support helps improve health, empower communities, and break the cycle of poverty. There are several reputable organizations and charities that accept donations, like UNICEF, Water.org, Charity Water, Water Aid, World Vision Plan International, Global Water Challenge, Engineers Without Borders. You can visit their websites to learn more about their WASH initiatives and how to donate. Additionally, many local and community based organizations also work on WASH projects and would greatly appreciate support. And just to clear things up, WASH projects are relevant because they can provide clean water, sanitation facilities, and hygiene education, which are essential for improving health, enhancing education, fostering. And this is just the basic knowledge that can really help promote more hygiene and just general stuff. And it can be very useful, actually.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We really hope you will donate and support our community project. And thank you so much for listening. This is it for today. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye.